Wow. Can you even imagine speaking those words? This is a father who was convinced his favorite son had been dead for 22 years. What we're hearing is just pure, unfiltered relief. The climax of a story about famine, about doubt, and about a faith that was stretched to its absolute breaking point. All right, let's get into it.
So you've got to understand, this is so much more than a family reunion. This is the story of how a patriarch's terrifying journey into the unknown became the very first march of a nation led by a son he thought was lost, who would become a king. Our story kicks off in a land that is just being crushed by a terrible famine. And Jacob, he's an old man now, has just gotten news that completely shatters his reality. His son, Joseph, is alive. And not just alive, he's basically running Egypt. But that command to go see him, it fills Jacob with an incredible sense of dread.
He makes his way to Beersheba, the well of the oath, a place that's deeply sacred to his family. But instead of comfort, all he feels is fear. He's remembering an old vision he had, and he is just terrified of leaving the promised land to go to Egypt, this foreign place with foreign gods.
So what does he do? He waits. For 16 agonizingly long days, he just stays put, desperate for a sign from God. On day 7, he makes a sacrifice, but get this, he has to use old grain, because the famine's so bad there's nothing else left. You can just feel the weight of this moment, can't you? And then, on the 16th night, when the camp is dead quiet, the silence is broken. This is it. This is the divine intervention he's been waiting for. And in this single moment, his fear is about to be replaced by purpose. Everything changes right now. In this vision, God speaks directly to every single one of Jacob's fears. He gets 3 unbreakable promises. Number 1, I will make you a great nation there. Number 2, I will go down with you. And number 3, this deeply personal promise of peace. Joseph will close your eyes. That was it. That's the green light he needed.
With his heart finally settled, Jacob gives the order. They load the wagons, gather the animals, and this whole massive family group heads out from Beersheba. And this is so important. This isn't just a family moving. This is the very first march of the nation of Israel.
And when you look at the sheer scale of this family, it is staggering. It's all organized by the 4 matriarchs, Leah, Zilpah, Rachel, and Bilhah. Each name represents a whole branch of this future nation. It's like a living, breathing family tree on the move. 70 souls in total, the tiny seed for that great nation God had just promised. Now, as they get close to the border, Jacob sends Judah ahead to get things ready for them in Goshen. The stage is officially set for what is, no exaggeration, one of the most epic reunions in all of history. Joseph doesn't just show up. He arrives with the full spectacle and power of Egypt. The ground literally trembles like an earthquake from hundreds of chariots. There are officials in their finest clothes, musicians playing. The air is thick with incense. It is a complete sensory overload.
Jacob is just stunned. He sees this incredible figure wearing a royal crown get down from his chariot and walk towards him. He is so overwhelmed, he turns to Judah and asks the only question he can think of.
And there it is, the reveal. That is your son Joseph, the king. The boy sold into slavery is now the second most powerful man on the planet. I mean, the shock, the awe, it must have just been overwhelming.
And in that moment, the whole procession just stops. They run to each other and just hold on, weeping. Decades of pain and loss and grief just come pouring out. And what's incredible is that all the Egyptians who came with Joseph, they all start weeping right along with them. But after the emotion of the reunion, Joseph has to snap back into his role as an administrator. His brilliance now has to shift from a family crisis to ensuring the survival of 2 entire nations. And this just shows you the night and day difference. Joseph settles his family in Goshen, which is the absolute best, most fertile land in all of Egypt. They went from the starvation and fear of Canaan to complete safety and abundance. This whole thing is so significant that Jacob, at 130 years old, is brought to meet Pharaoh. And in this amazing reversal of what you'd expect, it's the humble patriarch Jacob who gives the blessing to the mighty Pharaoh. So while his family is safe, Joseph is running this masterful plan to save all of Egypt. It was a 3-step process. When the money ran out, people traded their animals for food.
When the animals were gone, they traded their land. And when the land was gone, they traded their own service. It was a radical plan, but it kept everyone alive. The result was a total consolidation of power. As you can see, basically everything, all the money, the animals, the land, it all ended up belonging to Pharaoh. It fundamentally changed their entire society. The only exceptions, the land of the priests, and of course Jacob's family in Goshen. And then, after 7 long years, it's finally over. The crisis breaks. The Nile River floods its banks again, the fields get planted, and life starts to come back to the land.
So, how did they rebuild? It all came down to a single number: 20%.
Joseph gives out seed so people can plant the fields again. In return, he creates a permanent law. 1/5, or 20%, of everything they grow now belongs to Pharaoh. This one move saves the population and creates a stable economy for generations.
And what about Jacob's family? They didn't just survive this. They thrived. They got their own property, their numbers grew and grew, and under Joseph's protection, they were safe to build the foundation for their entire future. Which really brings us to this final thoughts. At what point does a family actually become a nation? Was it in the moment of that divine promise? Was it during that tearful reunion on the road? Or was it in those quiet years of growth in Goshen? This story seems to suggest it's all of it, the entire journey, where a family is forged by hardship and guided by vision and finally takes its first real steps towards its destiny.